So, Daniel and the lion's den, which we can see makes sense of our two little lions. Don't forget, they came out of our story bag. And I'm assuming that this is going to be Daniel. Okay. So, we've got a character here. This is, first of all, Daniel and the Scary Sleepover. So we've got our character Daniel, okay? And Daniel loved God. He worked really, really hard. And as a result, he was quite popular with the king. The king really liked him. The king made Daniel a bit of a favourite. He liked how clever Daniel was. And so he made him a really important person. But there were some people who really didn't like this. We've got some people over here. They didn't like all of the attention that Daniel was getting. They didn't like the fact that he was getting all of this special attention from the king. So they decided that they were going to find a way to get rid of Daniel. They were going to find a way to make the king not like him. And so they tricked the king. They tricked the king. They got together, they schemed, they plotted, and they tricked the king into making a new law. A law that said that everyone had to pray to the king. Because they knew that Daniel wouldn't do that. They noticed that Daniel went into his room every day and he would pray to God. But they made the king set this new law that no one is allowed to pray to anyone except the king, or they'll be punished. And they were very pleased with themselves for making this. And they discovered that Daniel, as they predicted, Daniel didn't pray to the king. Daniel continued to pray to God. Well, when they told the king about this, and they did, the king was very sad. He really liked Daniel, but he had no choice but to follow through with his law and to punish Daniel for breaking the law. So he did exactly what he said he would do, and he had no choice but to throw Daniel to the lions. That was the punishment that he decided to use, to throw Daniel into a den full of lions. And here we can see Daniel being thrown down into a cage, really, full of these really fearsome looking lions. They look very fierce, don't they? Can everyone give me your best roar? We're learning to do that in this house. We're learning to roar like lions. Maybe we could have a song about that later. Roaring like little lions. Anyway, Daniel's been thrown down into the lion's den. But the king, as I said, was very sad about this. So the last thing he said as he threw Daniel down was, "May your God, who you love so much, rescue you." Well, I wonder what's going to happen. It seems like the king was wondering that too, because he had a bit of a sleepless night. He was worried. He tossed and turned until finally, at the first glimmer of dawn, he leapt out of bed and ran straight to the den. "Daniel, has your God rescued you?" he cried. What do we think? "Yes," Daniel shouted. "God sent an angel to close the lions' mouths." And there, resting his head on Daniel's lap, was the biggest lion, purring like a little kitten. The king brought Daniel out of the den. "Look," he said, "Daniel doesn't even have a scratch." So the king made a new law. Daniel's God is the true God, the God who rescues. Pray to him instead. Well, that's amazing. And the really amazing thing is that God would keep on rescuing his people. And the time was coming when God would send another brave hero, just like Daniel, who would love God and do what God said, whatever it cost him, even if it meant he would die. And that's the story of Daniel and the lion's den. And here at Little Elms, the most amazing thing about that story is that we believe that's true, that really happened, that Daniel was a faithful man, and he chose to continue praying to God, and God came and rescued him. And like the story said as well, we believe that God would later, and already has, sent another rescuer. And we believe that that's Jesus. That's why this Bible is called the Jesus Storybook Bible, because all of the stories in here point to him. And we believe that that's true. And how amazing, isn't it, that Jesus will come and rescue us? Indeed, he already has.